Welcome to LawNext. Recently, I attended the Client Experience Summit in Charleston, South Carolina. It was the first customer conference put on by the legal technology company CaseStatus. In an opening keynote at the conference, Andy Seavers, the co-founder and CEO of CaseStatus, gave a talk in which he unveiled several new products, including, most notably, Client Intelligence, an AI-driven platform that the company says represents a significant shift for law firms from reactive client management to predictive client engagement. Shortly after Seavers delivered that keynote, I sat down with him for this interview to learn more about the company and its latest announcements. When CaseStatus first launched, it was often described as the Dominos pizza tracker for law, insofar as it enabled clients to easily keep track of the status of their case. As you'll hear from Andy today, it has expanded significantly beyond that into a full client experience and client intelligent platform. And he's also just published a book called Future Firm, Fossil Firm, a blueprint for legal industry transformation. We'll talk about that as well. I'm Bob Ambrogi, and you're listening to LawNext, the podcast that features the innovators and entrepreneurs who are driving what's next in law. Before we get to that, please take a moment to hear from the sponsors whose generosity supports this podcast. Capture lost revenue by accurately tracking time, any place. Bill for Time, the most trusted legal time tracking and billing solution, simplifies your day with multiple timers for accurate tracking, customizable invoice templates, and online payment processing to get you paid up to 70% faster. It's everything your firm needs to keep billable hours on track and non-billable work off your task list. See it for yourself at billfortime.com. That's time.com. You didn't go to law school to waste time writing and responding to discovery requests. Never waste time on discovery again with BriefPoint. BriefPoint drafts your discovery responses and requests for documents within minutes of your first sign-in. BriefPoint is the most reliable discovery drafting solution on the market, and it works right out of the box. Get your first document drafted by going to briefpoint.ai and clicking Get Started. No credit card required. BriefPoint. Draft what matters, automate the rest. Now let's get to today's interview. This is Bob Ambrogi, and I am here at the Client Experience Summit in Charleston, South Carolina. It's the inaugural customer conference of the company CaseStatus, and I am here with the co-founder and CEO, Andy Seavers. Andy, how are you doing?
I'm good. Thanks for having me on the show.
Thanks for having me at the conference. I'm really happy to be here and really enjoying it. You gave the keynote this morning, kicked the conference off. We are here just a little bit after. You're barely warm off the stage, and we're sitting down to talk a little bit. Before we kind of get into, there's a lot of news you talked about this morning. I want to just kind of take a step back a little bit and talk about kind of the origins of this company. You co-founded it in 2018, I think it was. I was looking back. I think I first wrote about the company in about 2020, somewhere around there. What was the idea? I mean, what kind of led you to want to start this? What was the problem you saw that you wanted to try and address?
Yeah, well, I was a pre-law major and had a really strong focus on going to Vanderbilt Law, and my journey kind of took a change and got into software and technology, and after moving to Charleston, met my co-founder Lauren, who's a plaintiff's attorney and just a practicing attorney in Charleston, and
Lauren short event.
Yeah, Lauren. Yep. Now Lauren Goley, and so she had the original idea for CaseStatus, and can we give people Domino's pizza tracker of your legal case, and that's where the idea started, and really over time it's grown to how do we really care for clients, and what do they need to be cared for, and how does a law firm scale the way that they support them over time, and it's been cool to see that take shape.
I'm glad to hear you say Domino's pizza tracker, because I was looking back through some of my older articles, and that kind of used that phrase a lot. I think in the earlier days, I don't know if you use it as much, or
I mean, if I'm talking to a non-lawyer and they want just it doesn't matter if they really know what the full platform does, I say, and they go, man, that gives me such a clear picture of of what you guys do. And it's a, it is a good mental image, but the reality is, I mean, businesses need support software. Every organization that we work with today, if I had to, just call some number or have just email some support person at Delta when I have a flight, that wouldn't be scalable for that organization at all. And we believe that that law firms need the same thing. So it's been cool to see the platform evolve over time and meet those needs.
Yeah. No, it's a very descriptive phrase, and that's why I like it. I'm glad you still use it sometimes. Um, so what? How? You know, again, I want to get up to some of the stuff you talked about today, but before that, I mean, kind of talk about more about what the platform actually does for a law firm and how it has developed a little bit over the years.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it starts by, we believe access to justice starts with little access to what's going on in your case. So clients can download a firm branded mobile app. There's also web and text, but really it's designed to reach the client where they're at. And we focus primarily on consumer based law. So a lot of personal injury, immigration, family, estate, criminal, bankruptcy, these areas where individuals, they've never maybe been in this process and they're afraid and they want to know that their law firm has their best interest at heart. And so first we engage the client where they need to be engaged. And then from there, we give the law firm tools to really proactively engage. The legal industry in the past has been very reactive. It's like, if they need me, they'll try and call and I might get back to them. I'll tell them within 48 hours and we might do that. But now we are proactively sending updates. We are proactively engaging. And then the last piece is we're closing the loop. We're making sure the experience is good. And so we are doing different things to enhance the experience, not just meet the minimum, but really deliver an exceptional experience to the client and then track if they're actually satisfied. And we do that by asking them for a net promoter score. And now with what we talked about today, we're launching CSAT and even predictive sentiment where we can start to predict when the clients are going to be upset, when there are breakdowns in communication and process, and help the law firms really zero in and fix that. And so as a whole, case status helps the law firm standardize the way they care and support for clients. And when they do that, they can scale it more efficiently and they can start to zero in on where, maybe they're losing retention. They can zero in on reviews and referrals and to be able to scale, their reputation online and the number of people walking around and talking about them and ultimately build a better practice. And that's what we're seeing. Everyone who has been a customer for at least a year will say the same thing, which is it has materially changed the way that we operate. Yes, it's about the client and that matters. We are providing them a better client experience, but we're also now more efficient in the way we do it. We're also now driving more growth because people are happier. We're now retaining more of these clients. All of these things we're even like I talked about today, we're seeing firms who are having faster settlements and higher settlements. So now clients are getting all the best outcomes because the law firm is caring about them. And that's what we would expect to see.
Yeah. I was just in a breakout session where the lawyer who is a case status customer uh, made the point that we've all heard, which is the greatest percentage of lawyer disciplinary matters that get filed have to do with lawyers just not being responsive to their clients. Doesn't mean they all turn into discipline, but the greatest number of complaints that bar regulators receive is over a lack of responsiveness to clients. I think we all know that. I think we've all seen, our own clients get frustrated when you don't return their call, you don't answer their email. It's become probably more important now than maybe even when you started this company in 2018 because of Google rankings, the emphasis put on NPS scores, which is not something people talk about as much maybe a decade ago. So one of the points that you made in your talk this morning is to kind of look at the difference having case status makes in a law firm's NPS score. So could you kind of talk about that a little bit?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think just the act of asking clients if they're having a good experience, it teaches the client that you actually care enough to ask. And when we first started this, I mean, there was very much this feeling of, I don't want to talk to my clients. I don't, and they wouldn't say this directly, but I don't care about them or I don't like them. Well, now you're prioritizing understanding if they're having a good experience. And then now that throughout the process, you can do something about it. And it helps the staff zero in on where they can do better and where there's more process and scalability that can go in to what they're doing. But it's reinforcing where the clients are having a great experience when we are doing what we're saying we're going to do. and the client comes back and says we're happy. And that's some of the feedback we love. Like we need to help the firm zero in on, the first on 0 out of 10 net promoter score. The partner always goes, oh, who's that? I want to zero in on that. But it's also for the staff members like, God, man, my clients, a lot of them are very happy. And man, it makes my job feel so much better to get that reinforcement, because now their job is a new quantitative metric, happy clients through net promoter score, and they can feel confident that they're doing a good job. And look, no one's going to be perfect. It's a very hard time for clients. So we're not expecting every client to be so happy and so satisfied. But we do expect that, we should be delivering them a service that matters. And it's been cool to see the conference I just saw you at in Austin. I ran into an individual who is at the Illinois State Bar, and he says it's amazing that all over the last 8 years, the number one, complaint that these state bars receive is lack of attorney communication. Yet the bar really hasn't changed they haven't really, like you even kind of referenced it. Are they actually going to discipline for it? They do, but we're now for the first time they are feeling empowered to go, the standard has changed. That's not okay. We actually need to start really caring about this client experience, because people's expectations have changed and they do deserve better. Because it's one thing to say, it's the best we can do. Well, we've now proven you can do better. And so if you can do better with something like case status and you opt out of that, what does that mean for your practice and your belief on how important the client is? And I think it's a challenging question that a lot of law firms should be asking themselves.
Yeah, you gave numbers in your talk that when you started the company, the average NPS for a law firm is like 25, I think, and that now for a case status firm is 71.
Yeah.
Is that right? Do I have that
And
right?
we actually require the answer. Some people have some different views on this, but it's something that we've done where, and I've never met another company who did this, but we, throughout the stage gets updated and we ask 0 to 10 and we require the answer. And so for some, they're saying, hey, we're at the beginning of the process. I don't know, 7. Well, yeah, that's exactly what we would expect. You're passive. You're not a promoter yet. The firm hasn't earned it. But throughout the case, we have the opportunity to actually earn the promotion of your firm. And that's what we think is so key, and why, we collected 280,000 net promoter scores last year. That's the opportunity to really, know that we're doing a good job. I always joke, like I'm Platinum Delta and I've never filled out their net promoter score survey,
Right.
but yet our law firms are getting it filled out 4 to 6 times throughout a case. And what an exciting thing to be able to reinforce that they're happy. And the client comes out of it going, yeah, they cared. At any point, I could have told them I was upset, but they exceeded my expectations. When everyone in the industry says, man, it's terrible working with the law firm, for the first time, we're having people who have a different experience, and that's what we want to see.
Yeah. So can you provide context on that? What is the sort of the current average now? How does that 71 compare to firms generally in the market?
Unfortunately, we're still seeing firms in the market at 25.
Right.
Like if you still look at, clearly rated, it's going up a little bit. You might see it get almost to 30. And we like to believe we've helped impact the score, right? We, at some point, our number of firms should be pulling up the average of the whole, but there are a lot of law firms out there. But what I know to be true is that, and I set it up on stage, consumer-based law is typically well below that 25. Net promoter score goes to negative 100. And Comcast is in that like negative 25 to 0 range. That's probably where consumer-based law lives, because we all know there are the transactional corporate lawyers. They have 5 clients, and those clients are happy. I'm happy with my corporate counsel, most of the time for the big transactions that we do, and so those one-off scenarios pull the average up, but we know that the consumer average pulls it back down. And so it's helpful to have the range, but what we care about is what is our customer base delivering, and it is something that is quantifiably better.
Yeah. The same breakout session I was just in, I bet the morning has just started. I've been in all of one breakout session so far, but I thought it was interesting because she kept talking about the fact, she kept emphasizing, she said, my firm is a case status firm. And what that meant to her is that if a client comes in the door who's not willing to communicate through case status, she won't take that client, which I thought was a pretty dramatic statement about how she feels about the technology that you're providing them. And I think it emphasizes what I think a lot of people who don't use case status may not understand about this kind of technology, which is it's not just a pizza tracker. It's really about being able to engage with the client, keep them in the loop, keep them informed of what's going on, and help you as the lawyer and your staff be more efficient in communicating with the client.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it highlights. So we track now all the communications securely in one place. I mean that the legal industry really doesn't have a huge emphasis on security. It's really surprising, but I
Sure.
mean it's not. It's pretty risky when your attorneys are texting clients from their personal cell phone. Are you actually logging that communication? Doesn't doesn't loop the rest of the team in on what's actually happening. What was communicated to the client last. And so all of these pieces are so important in actually delivering the right outcome for the client. I mean, it's a little bit silly to think about, but I mean, we think about online banking. I mean, online banking gives us access and ownership over our money. We virtually don't need our banks anymore, except when we do. On the scenarios where I need to interact, go in, or communicate with someone at the bank, they have a whole support system to be able to handle my needs. But I am primarily given confidence in the bank because of what they give me on their app, because of what I'm able to control myself. And that principle is what's being taught across the board. It's just the Uber generation, the Venmo generation that we live in. Individuals are now primarily building trust in that way. And so for a client to come in and say, I don't want to do that is totally fair. I mean, we have the ability, you can still through the platform text with them, or they can log on via the web. And as we talked about today, we'll start ingesting the phone calls and emails to give a full client picture. But it actually does unlock the firm when they are on case status, because they have time back. They're able to make sure that the client has the full picture of expectations of what to expect. Because when you come into the app and you can see, oh, wow, they've outlined the 12 steps of this case. They've given me timelines, frequently asked questions, videos from the partner. They've given me all this information. I now have confidence that they've done this before, because I think a lot of clients come in and they're like, wow, they haven't really communicated with me, and things don't feel like it doesn't feel good because it's a legal process, and oh, it's something's changed that's supposed to happen. Maybe my lawyer's never done this before. And all of that erodes the trust that we're trying to build with the client. And it ultimately makes the law firm's job much, much harder. And so to be able to say, hey, this is the way we're going to communicate with us, and say, and trust us, it's going to provide the best outcome for all of us, it really means something. And I love to hear when firms are willing to make that stance, because I mean, as DePasquale Moore saw, any cases that are not in case status right now for personal injury cases are 8% less in fees. They are 65 days longer. They are worse experience. It's like they need to be on case status to maximize the outcomes for these clients.
You mentioned that during your talk, and I was curious, how does a communication app essentially help a case settle for more, or get resolved more quickly?
Yeah.
How does it do that?
Yeah, well, in that scenario, they'll say that they've identified a number of things. One, there aren't gaps in treatment. The client has a better understanding of how they can contribute to the process, and so they're more intentional about getting treatment. You can do treatment tracking in case status, so they will submit that treatment in, and so now we have a clear picture of where they're going and who they saw and when and what's happening. The law firm is less busy, so they're able to spend more time with clients, saying, hey, this issue you're having, we need an MRI. That's important. They found they spend a little bit more time in treatment because they're not having such a bad experience where they're like, I just want to be done with this. They're going, no, this is important. I need to get better, because that's going to help the firm build a best case. So if you look at the timeline, they actually spend a little bit more time in treatment, yet the whole process is completed 15 to 20% faster. And that's pretty exciting, because it's starting to zero in on how that they can really help their clients maximize value. And it gives you the knowledge that you need to really unlock the best outcome for the case.
Yep.
Just ahead of Case Status's Client Experience Summit, Andy Seavers released a book, Future Firm, Fossil Firm, that examines the seismic shifts reshaping the legal industry and offers advice for firms on how they can evolve. In a moment, I'll ask Andy about his concept of what it means to be a future firm and why it matters. But first, please take this opportunity to learn about the sponsors who so generously support this podcast. Ready to free up your day so you can spend more time on billable work? Bill for Time is legal time tracking and billing software
helps your firm automate time-intensive tasks so you can practice more and manage less. Plus, Bill for Time's simple, easy-to-learn interface and award-winning live customer support ensure that your firm will be up and running in no time. Visit billfortime.com today to learn how you can take your practice to the next level. That's Bill, the number 4, time.com.
The $10 million call doesn't always come during business hours. Sometimes it's 10 p.m. and there's no one there to answer. Eve AI Intake is the always-on system trusted by top plaintiff firms to capture every lead, qualify every case, and make sure the biggest opportunities never slip away. Firms like Mike Morse Law are already using Eve to handle after-hours calls and keep million-dollar cases from slipping away. Visit eve.legal/intake. That's eve.legal/intake so you don't miss the next $10 million call at 10 p.m.
Welcome back to LawNext. I'm speaking with Andy Seavers, the CEO and co-founder of Case Status, an interview recorded live at the company's inaugural Client Experience Summit in Charleston, South Carolina, which was held in September. Just ahead of the conference, Andy released a book called Future Firm, Fossil Firm, offering advice for law firms on how they should evolve. As we get back to the conversation, we're going to talk about that book. We also talk about the company's new AI product, Client Intelligence. Let's get back to the conversation.
You talked a lot this morning about your idea, your conception of a future firm, of what a future firm looks like. You have just released a book, Future Firm, Fossil Firm, which you announced this morning and made available to registrants at the conference here today. Should have had one framed here behind us or something, but we'll work that in somewhere. But I wonder if you could just kind of talk about that concept of what it means to you for a firm to be a future firm and why it matters that they be a future firm.
Yeah. I mean, we in an industry that's so built on this idea of precedent, I think that it's been a natural inclination to be trained to stay in the past versus thinking about what does it mean to be a firm of the future and what does that entail? And really the premise of the book is that when you have a posture of change, you can be a future firm. And it's not that that's difficult, but for a law firm, it really can be. And I talk about the 4 main levers that drive law firms that have caused law firms to not change over this amount of time. I mean, if your firm's a non-lawyer ownership, like if your firm can only take money or you can't sell your firm, then you're in the short term kind of annual payday type mentality, and it disincentivizes you from spending big money in a year. I mean, billing models, if you're an hourly billing firm, instead of change, I'm just going to raise my hourly bill. Training, if you're trained traditionally, law schools trained by attorneys, the bar says only trust attorneys. And so they go, okay, I guess those are the people that I should be listening to, not, hey, I'm actually running a business, a client service business, and I should be thinking about how I improve and change. There are a lot of these elements that for the first time, we're now seeing all of them change. Last one's competition is, for the first time, we're seeing more firms than there really ever have been. But because of AI, we're seeing a decline in cases. Okay, so now we're at this pinnacle where more firms are feeling the pressure. What do we do about it? And then the book is the story of future firm and fossil firm and the paths that they take with change and not embracing change. And then we give our view on a roadmap to embrace change as an organization, as a leader, and just to help firms start thinking about how can we be metrics driven? How can we put clients at the center of this organization? And how can we, but be proud to drive profit per case because it's best for the client and it's best for our organization. So we're, super happy that with the response of it so far. It was a long time coming. I didn't tell a lot of people I was writing it because it's my first book. So I figured let's make sure that it's something that's going to really provide value. And it's been awesome to even pre-conference to have a number of people read it and come back encouraged and say this is going to provide real value. And it ultimately is aligned with our mission, which is we are trying to move the legal industry forward. When the legal industry starts to really embrace change, clients reap the benefits. Law firms reap the benefits. And we all see an industry where, you're ethically bound But yet, if you ask clients, hey, here are your 5 most ethical people you know, they probably wouldn't put a lawyer on that list. Well, that should change. They should be viewing their lawyers like they're doctors, with admiration because they are competent, because they care, and they work really hard. And a lot of lawyers do that, and I can attest our case status customers do that.
Yeah, yeah. You talk about the potential threat to this market or to firms in this market from big law. You talked about this. Imagine this scenario of suddenly big law decided it was going to get into personal injury law
Yeah.
and come in and just charge a flat fee of $2,500 because they can afford to do that. And what the heck? Why do firms need to be thinking about that? What does it mean for the
Yeah, I mean, I think it just articulates that there are, for the first time, real threats to kind of the systematic way law firms operate.
way things have always been done?
Yeah, exactly. And if you're willing to imagine the scenario, then you can start to think about, well, then how would I survive? And look, you might go through that thought exercise, and a firm might say, okay, I could afford $5,000. I could still deliver an exceptional client experience, and I would still earn enough that I would care. It would be worthwhile for me to do that. Okay, again, it might never happen that an AmLaw 100 firm comes in and decides to do that. But the point is, why would we wait to try and maximize our firms? As a business owner, the opportunity is to maximize the return for shareholders, maximize the output for our customers. All of these things are things that all of our law firms should be thinking about. And the shift to really the way that law firms are thinking about their business is so beneficial. And we want to just help spur the conversation. And if we can contribute positively to it, we would love to be in the center of it. But it's just, I think it's an important topic that's been neglected for a long time. And I think that not to downplay any of the other software companies, but it's been a little bit of a marketing term in the past. All these platforms are saying, yeah, provide the best client experience, but are they really focusing on the client, or is it just, only focusing on the law firm? We think that there's this full approach of all the different areas that we have to really lean into that helps us, deliver for the client.
Yeah. One of the kind of concepts related to that you talked about this morning is that of a firm, the recognition that a firm has a lot of information about a client, a lot of knowledge about a client, and how do you unlock that knowledge and put it into action, basically, for the firm and for the clients. And you launched a new product, a new tool this morning that helps firms do that. So it's called Client Intelligence. Can you talk about that?
Yeah. We view client intelligence really as the brain that helps capture the knowledge that we're getting from clients. I mean, again, if we're gonna have to scale the way that we support clients with more tools, with fewer individuals, with all these things that could happen, we want to make sure that we don't miss out on what's important. Like that, that client, she loves she loves cappuccino, and if she's going to come in, we're going to get her cappuccino because that's going to actually delight her more than anything else that we could do. Or hey, we've uncovered this individual tends to be pretty nervous, gets especially in the current economical climate that we're in. So in that scenario, we're going to go above and beyond in communicating and reinforcing tone that inspires confidence, and that they can takes away the anxiety. And all of these things, again, will become, as the world pushes for less and less human, our goal with client intelligence is to maximize and really lean into how can we be the most human that we can be. And I joke about it up there. We get on the phone and we call someone and it's press 1 for 000, the real person. We start yelling into the phone. We cannot remove what it means to be, to provide a personal client experience. What we can do is we can provide all the tools the client wants on the outside. Like online banking is a great example. Case status is a great example, the mobile app, but actually being able to unlock the knowledge and be able to deliver an exceptional client experience, that's what really matters. And I think when these models start to really get trained on all the phone data, all the email data, all the knowledge that we have about the client, the outcome is going to be, wow, this firm cares for me in an unbelievably great way.
Yeah.
Like I'm just going to be so loyal to them. And that's what we want to see.
Yeah. that all sounds a little abstract to me. I mean, how does it really work in the context of the platform and the product that you have?
Yeah, so it's all around this idea of what we're calling the CX index. So the client experience index, CXI. And so we've thought, okay, there's net promoter score, there's CSAT, there are all these kind of concepts that all means client satisfaction in different ways, and are measured slightly different. And so for us, we've created an AI model that is specific to the client experience index, and it really helps put a number to their satisfaction and ingest all of these different pieces. And then we start to uncover what drives CXI up based on persona. So if we uncover their tend to be more nervous, but when they are a 72 CXI, this is the part of the process we're in. This is how they want to be communicated with. This is how they want to be engaged with. And it's all trained off of the way that you've handled similar clients in the past, the type of communication that's been shared, and the way that CXI has been impacted over time, the way that your timeliness impacted that, the way that your sincerity. We always talk a lot about the communication within case status, but that's not the only way you should be communicating with clients. There are times where you need to be in person. There are times where you need to be on the phone. There are other ways to engage your client, and we want you to be able to engage them at the right point in the right way. I mean, if this is a high value client that is about to fire you, so we've been talking to some big corporate firms who have said, if you can just do the same thing with our phone calls and emails and highlight retention risks. I mean, he was like, Andy, I lost an $8 million a year client last week because the attorney couldn't be bothered to communicate with them about 2 questions. He's like, if that got escalated to me, you better believe we would have kept that client. And that really gets to the core of, we think that we can really start to highlight opportunities to just do better. And then as our ML model, which is predictive sentiment, we then start to predict, hey, based on the past, this type of persona in this scenario is going to drop, and their satisfaction is going to drop if we don't start engaging them in specific ways. And that's where the real, we get really excited because, there have been sentiment models that have been on the market for 20 years.
Yeah.
This is something that, is unique because we've had, 11 million messages, 280,000 net promoter scores, 150 million actions within the app. We have real data that only exists within the case status ecosystem that we can help the firms unlock on a firm by firm basis to do something really, really special. And so that's what we think really makes this different, where we look at all the other AI companies in the space. It's just an area that they're not going to be able to do in the same way because they don't have the background, the type of product and the data set that we have.
Yeah, so the ML is learning from the ecosystem as a whole, or the law firm's particular set of data, or both?
Both, but in some scenarios. So we, there are a number of firms who have opted in to that training, but a lot of this data gets trained on a firm by firm basis. And so we're very careful about how we split. The way that we have very large immigration firms with hundreds and hundreds of people and 40,000 clients, and the way that that firm needs to handle clients is very different than the small firm that has 100 pre-litigation clients, and so the way that model needs to be trained by a firm is different. But there are some core pieces where we brought 9 of our biggest customers together earlier this year, and they are all committed to helping train the core model to make it really, really good.
And a component of this, of what you've launched, is called triage. And explain that to me. What does that do in particular?
Yeah. So triage is now, as we've talked about, case status now becomes a system of action. And so it's the way that we actually take action and solve the client's needs, care for the client. And so triage is the engine that queues up what needs to be done next. And so today, case status customer logs in and they say, oh, okay, I got to respond to these 9 messages. No particular order. I'm just going to respond to them. Oh, I actually know about Bob. I think this might be important. I want to click on his. Okay, I'm going to respond to this. Well, what triage does is it prioritizes those messages based on urgency, based on a lot of data that the firm has ultimately helped us train their model on to say, this is what needs to be responded to first. But response is only one thing you can do in case status. What about engage? What about check-in? What about update? All these other actions that can be taken. And so triage identifies what those things are, queues them up, prepares them to be completed. So for example, I need to create an appointment, pre-creates the appointment, and then there's a confirmation loop. And so now the staff member's job becomes, Yep, send that message. Oh, I'm going to modify this, send. Oh, yeah, update, edit. It becomes really this game of I just click through and confirm that what case status is queued up for me is what I need to do. And now training on case status becomes really, really easy because I don't have to remember, oh, yeah, I guess I could go and check it on that document. I could go and, oh, they haven't submitted this thing yet. I'm going to go remind them. Now we're going to queue all of these things up for them automatically, and their job should just become really easy.
And there's a Chrome plugin that can help alert people to what's coming in. Is that
Well,
is that how that works?
This is the great thing is it's not just alert, but you actually can use virtually the entire case status platform as a what we call a communicator or a manager from within the Chrome extension. And so imagine you've got your screen and you maybe have a few notifications. You click on it, the right side of your screen, it'll actually show up. And you can communicate, you can update, you can do all the things that you need to do right there from within case status. That also exists within Salesforce if you're a Litify customer, or there are a number of case management tools that are talking about, hey, we'd love to integrate that directly into our product so that, again, they don't have to navigate. And we're saying for the communicators, they shouldn't have to. Now, as you get up to, one of the operators of the firm, maybe a CEO or a COO, there's a lot more value in the insight and in the management level of, okay, now how do we better manage our staff? So in that capability is still within the full case status platform. So if for example, you're like, I want to know who on my team provides the best client experience, we will aggregate those scores and put them, in a ranked list. So you can create some competitions or some ways to drive, maybe your staff members who are not providing as good of an experience, better training and the opportunity to do better. So we still have all of that functionality in our full platform. But the system of action idea is that when we can be really embedded in the area that they are, the workflow that they're having when they're doing the project management work in their case management tool, when they can quickly say, oh, I need to do this thing right here, just letting them all do it from the same view is very powerful.
Yeah. Andy, something else that you announced during your keynote this morning was the launch of the Statusphere.
Mm-hmm.
What's the Statusphere?
Yeah. So it's our community of case status customers who have really decided to take the way that they handle clients to the next level. It's a combination of connection and value through partners in a lot of different ways. So some of the main ways is we identified that case status firms want to refer cases to other case status firms. If they know that the case is going to be handled better, the client's going to be happier, the status is going to be shared back automatically, so it's less operational lift. The settlements can be higher and the case can move faster, then why would you want to refer a case to anybody else? And so we're unlocking that ability through what we're calling advocacy partners, one of those being Attorney Share and Lexamica and Case Exchange, where you can keep using the platforms you're using today, but they've committed to saying, yeah, we are going to help connect that community and we'll pull the status and we all win in that together. We're getting leads into the case status app looking for lawyers, and so we're going to start to route those to our customers. Our customers are asking for more ways to engage with each other, and so we've been putting together masterminds and different events to allow for more collaboration. And then there are other partners who do special things. So I was just talking to one who will be new, Gabble, who they help with video work. Well, our customers love to put video within the case status app to better communicate process and expectations. But some of them just aren't good at doing it themselves. Well, they're going to be an advocacy partner where they're going to have the playbook to be able to help do those videos in any of our firms. And so any partner who is putting clients above all else, like we want to bring all together. And so that's, the Statusphere is just it's our community. And it's funny, we named it that kind of as a joke at first. We're like, this is kind of fun, and it stuck. People just were like, I love that name. So I said, all right, we'll stick with it. And it's been fun to hear the response to it.
Yeah, that sounds great. And I mean, and I guess really the fundamental idea is that firms that are using case status want to see their referrals their business going to firms that are also using case status because they believe in the platform. It's really what it comes down to.
And we're making there's a minimum requirement. You have to have a commitment that your adoption is at a certain level, that you are going to run that case on case status, and that your net promoter score is at least over a 50. And so that you now know if they're in the Statusphere, they're utilizing our AI tools, they're providing a great experience, all the things that are going to maximize the outcome for the client.
here we are at your first conference, 8 years into the company. What's next? What are you looking at down the road? What's ahead for Case Status?
That's such a good question. I mean, our vision for where this goes is grand and long, but we always recognize that we have to go at the speed that the market's ready to go. So for us, we get to really continue to lean in this next phase in client intelligence, and we've got a long roadmap of opportunity that we can continue to focus on. But we don't build things that our customer base doesn't want. It's sometimes hard. I have joked, my team knows that I say this a lot. Lawyers are solutions minded. You don't go to a lawyer and say, "Hey, I've got this problem." They say, "Yep, that's terrible, bummer." They say, "No, here's the solution. Here's how we're going to handle it." And so that's the way that a lot of lawyers think about in software. They'll come and they say, "Hey, what's the problem?" "Well, I need a red button." "Okay, well, why do you need a red button?" "Because it needs to be red." It's like, well, what were you trying to solve? And our team has to go the extra mile to really uncover the pain. And then our job is to imagine and invent solutions that they can't even that many can't even fathom is possible. And so in this next phase, we've created a product advisory board. We've created new ways to really start to uncover the deep challenges that some of our firms are having so that we can continue to build just the best product that we can build and do something really special for them. And so for us, that becomes a huge focus for us. We're also just looking at a lot of the ways that we can continue to focus on the client. I mean, it's one of the reasons that we are completely refreshing the mobile app. It's the app is still great and provides a great experience, but after 8 years, said if we build this on it's like Swift versus Swift UI. It's like those simple things can help unlock our ability to deliver new value to the client, and so making those investments where some people will never know. They'll never. It'll be like, oh, look, app looks nicer now. They'll never know that it's completely re-engineered with all the information that we have over the last 8 years. And so we're really focused on want to deliver the best outcome that we can for our clients.
Your announcement today of client intelligence, when is that available? Who's it available to?
Yeah, so it's available in our Case Status product. That's available today. Customers can go and start to get triage turned on and get the steps for the status sphere. I expect by end of October we'll have most of the attendees here on and active, and we'll start working through how we can unlock the next level of value for them.
Yeah. What you alluded earlier to your conversation with a partner at a corporate law firm. Does that suggest that you're starting to look to that market, or are you sticking to your core market for a while?
It is an area that we're exploring.
Yeah.
For the first time, we have big corporate firms that are doing plaintiff work. We've got big ones that are moving into the mass tort space, and that's a good area for Case Status. And I mean, no, the Case Status mobile app is probably not the right way to engage a team of 4 individuals at a big corporation as a corporate lawyer. But does that mean that corporate law shouldn't have tools to drive retention and support? They absolutely should. And so in this next phase, as we start pulling in phone calls and emails, we see a future where we're in the .NET environment, in the Microsoft ecosystem, to deploy retention tools and communication tools and client engagement tools all within the corporate environment. We just know it's a different area, and we have the unique position where we're the first and we're the leaders in the space, and we want to continue to do what we do well, which is deliver great value to the consumer-based market. And so there's no shortage of opportunity there, but it's also we get to start to dream a little bit in this next phase, and look, if there's value there, great. We'll we're up for the challenge.
Yeah. You've had a couple of fundraising rounds. I'm not sure how much you've raised at this point. Maybe you can tell me, but are you looking to do that to raise more money, or where are you right now?
Yeah, so we in last November we raised our Series B. It was just under 20 million. We've raised just under 30 at this point, and we're at a good phase where we're growing fast. Still, we were top 15% of the Inc. 5000's fastest growing companies for the second year, and so that's
Congratulations.
thank you. And so we're at this point we're looking at what our options are. I'm sure at some point there will be an opportunity for us to really raise a new round, and we're exploring what that's going to look like, maybe even as early as call it mid next year. But at this point, it's been a fun year of being able to just lean in on growth and on building and doing all the things we've wanted to do.
Yeah, it's an interesting time in terms of the funding environment in legal tech. There's a lot of money floating around out there.
Oh yeah, I just saw the Filevine announcement, $400 million. That's some significant capital.
Yeah, and you're an integration partner. You integrate with Filevine,
We
right?
do. Yeah. We at this point, all the case management tools. We always say we're like Switzerland. We play nice with everyone. We're unbiased. We believe there needs to be a lot of different types of tools out there to solve the different types of practice areas and firms that exist. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Anything else you'd like listeners to know? Any last words?
No, I mean, we just want people to spread the word on caring about clients. Look, we can't solve the problem for everybody, but it's something that matters. And if you know somebody who might need to read Future Firm, Fossil Firm, I'm happy to send them a book. Although it pokes the bear a little bit. We don't want to call anybody out directly, but we want to genuinely say there's an opportunity, give you some permission to know why you've been slow to change, but also try and give you the playbook for the next phase, because we want to see firms be successful, and we know it. I mean, you see, you're deep in legal tech. It's changing, and it's going to be a really interesting next few years.
Yeah, we're here at the inaugural CX Summit. Is this the first and last, or do you plan to make this an annual event?
Oh, I sure hope not. I mean, if it was just going to be one, we could have just, like I said up front, could have just called it Case Status Con or whatever.
Yeah.
But no, we think this goes beyond just us, and it's because it's really about the client at the end of the day. That's why we do it. It's why we all have jobs, and when we keep focusing on that, I think we're all gonna be successful together.
Yeah. Well, Andy, thanks so much. Really appreciate your coming and talking to me here.
Glad you're here. Yeah, thanks for being here. Enjoy the rest of the event.
All right. Be well.
Thanks for joining us for today's show. Hope you enjoyed it. If you'd like to leave your own thoughts or comments, you can do so by emailing me, ambrogi@gmail.com, or connect with me on LinkedIn or other social media. And if you're a fan, leave us a review. We appreciate it. LawNext is a production of LawNext Media. I'm your host, Bob Ambrogi. I hope you join us again next time for another episode of LawNext.